on a Tuesday morning, the first ever midnight edition, I think. I've done some late night starts. Last week on the Thursday was late night, but I don't think we've ever actually started at midnight. Technically, I started at 12:01. For the latest edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by Bet Rivers. If you're not taking advantage of Bet Rivers, using the website, using the app, what are you doing? I had a same game parlay tonight that I thought I had in the bag. And it was, I think we had it at plus 550 at Bet Rivers. I put it out earlier in the day, and in the end, it did not come through. But it was a major bummer. I thought I had a big winner for you guys. I had the over in the game, which obviously hit at 73 points, about 30 points over. I had the over on Elijah Moore's receiving yards. It was 40-something. He had 111. And I had the Browns plus 6. And as the Browns are driving down 34-32, I'm thinking, okay, they're going to cover the 6. But, of course, then the pick 6 puts it away for Denver, and we don't win the parlay, and the Browns, more importantly, don't win the game. 41-32 the final. The Browns haven't been officially eliminated from the NFL playoffs, but if you had any remnants of hope left, they're down the tubes after this one. Again, the Browns haven't been officially eliminated, but the best they could finish is 8-9. And right now the 7th seed is Denver. They could finish 8-9. They'd have the tiebreaker. I guess there's got to be a scenario where the Browns could get in over one of the teams that could finish 8-9, if they have, or maybe they just haven't figured out all the tiebreakers, and maybe the Browns are officially eliminated. But according to the official standings page on ESPN, they've not been eliminated. But maybe it's updated their record. Maybe it just hasn't updated the tiebreakers. Who knows? Either way, it was a pipe dream. It's a wild game, and I'll tell you this, if nothing else, and the Browns have gone 2-3 since Jameis Winston has taken over. But and you saw it tonight, the whole Jameis experience, 4 touchdowns and 3 picks, and I'll throw away the last one because the game was over at that point. But it's such a weird game because I thought Jameis played – I mean, he played an amazing game. Obviously, he made 2 huge mistakes. Again, forget the third one. 2 huge mistakes, 2 really bad throws, and that pick when they're driving for the game, the go-ahead drive, and that was just a terrible throw. He threw it behind Elijah Moore, and he'd been so good all night. You can't miss that throw. He did. You look at the numbers, they're crazy. Franchise record, 497 yards passing, 34 of 58. I mean, the Browns couldn't do anything on the ground. Jerome Ford had 1 nice run for 21 yards. Nick Chubb had a nice run for 10 yards. But combined, they were 18 for 62. You take out those 2 carries, and it was 16 for 31. There was just nothing out there. The passing game, you got huge numbers. Jerry Jeudy, 9 catches on 13 targets, 235 and a touchdown, and talked about a revenge game and kind of wondered if Jerry Jeudy was good enough to deserve a revenge game. Well, he showed you. Jerry Jeudy well on his way to 1,000 yards this season. After this game today, he has, 890 yards on the year. His career best is 900-something. So unless something goes really wrong, he's going to get his first 1,000-yard season this year. Elijah Moore, who had done nothing for 2 years. Even with Joe Flacco, Elijah Moore didn't do much. But he's played great since Jameis took over. He's had, Jameis throws the ball his way a lot. He's had 28 catches in 5 games with Jameis for about 300 yards. I mean, that's on pace for a 1,000-yard season as well. So, so it's a mixed bag. In the end, I'll say I could say it's a lot more good than bad with Jameis, and it certainly was, but it wasn't enough. Now the defense didn't help. The defense gave up 27 points. I mean, they didn't play particularly well. But, Bo Nix, like Jameis, had an up-and-down game. He threw 2 picks. He had a touchdown. He led some big drives. That 90-yard pass to Mims was a pretty impressive play. They had 2 receivers with 100 yards. Jaleel McLaughlin got it going on the ground when the other guys could not do much of anything. He was the only one that really ran the ball well in this game, was McLaughlin. I mean, he had 14 carries for 84 yards. Frankly, I was surprised they didn't give him the ball a little more. He was playing pretty well. So, I mean, in the end, yeah, you could say Jameis cost him the game with the pick, and that's true. But it's a weird game. It's a weird game because if he finishes that last drive, we're talking about one of the greatest games in Browns history by a quarterback. And instead, you look at that pick, and then he throws the pick later, and then the pick earlier in the game, which was a bad one, and the pick six. It led directly to 2 touchdowns, and those were just killer mistakes by him. And it's something he's done. He has done far too often. He has 11 touchdowns, 7 picks. I don't think that tells the whole story. I think if Jameis had played the whole season, the Browns have a better record than 3-9. I look at Jameis and I say, I get why people are excited. I get why, J and G are losing their mind and want the Browns to sign him to a big extension. We've been so starved for quarterback play here that any sign of good quarterback play, we go bananas. It happened with Baker, who, played decently for a few years. Not as well as he's played this year, although he hasn't played as well lately. We saw it with Flacco briefly at the end of the last year. We're seeing it again with Jameis. I'm no matter what Jameis does the rest of the way, I'm waiting to the end of the year to make the decision. Right now, even with his flaws and mistakes, Jameis seems like the best option for the Browns for next year. I'm still not convinced he's a quarterback that can lead you to where he needs to go. I don't even know if he's ever I don't even think he's even played in the playoff game in his career. Now, it's not all on him, but you can't get a total pass for that. So Jameis is an enigma, and the decision on what to do in terms of at least next season will come next season, or will come after this season. Jameis played in one playoff game as a backup quarterback for the Saints in 2020. And he threw a 56-yard touchdown on the one pass he threw. So he's never started a playoff game. He's obviously never won a playoff game. And he, he's about to turn 31. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. Obviously, some of it will be based on what he does the rest of the season, how well he plays. But there's no denying that he has turned an offense that was dead into a thriving offense. I mean, I don't know how many times in the first, what did Watson play? 6 games to start the season? I don't know how many times I heard people say, or I said, the Browns don't even look like an NFL offense. Look at other teams. Look how they move the ball. And now they look like an NFL offense. It's flawed. They can't run. Jameis turns it over too much. But they look like a legit NFL offense. So it's going to be a hell of a decision to make at the end of the year. I think the best plan for the Browns probably next year is going to be to start Jameis. At the same time, start the process of looking for a long-term answer at the position. I'm glad I don't have to make that decision right now, and I'm glad I don't have to make that decision, period, because it's a tough call where you go from here. But like I said, in the end, Jameis, he blew it on that last play. It was a huge mistake to that was just a really bad throw behind Elijah Moore. It's also, it's hard to kill him because I just think he played so well besides that. and was not getting a lot of help outside of his receivers. That game in a way kind of reminded me of the Bengals and Steelers, or a lot of the Bengals game. Bengals have lost 4 games this year when they gave up 30 points. All other teams combined, I think, lost once. Well, now it's twice. The Browns scored 32 and lost. Lost by 9. That's hard to do, but that's exactly what happened. Defensively, Denzel Ward played a hell of a game. Got hurt at the end. We'll see what the status is on him. Let's see if I got any updates on Denzel here, because the 2 picks that the Browns had, his tip led to the first one, and he made the second one. He was just outstanding, but that's kind of the Denzel experience. Plays great, then gets hurt. You know? Let's see. And no update yet on Denzel. So if we get anything, I'll let you know. But as of now, no update on Denzel's situation. It looked like they were looking at his hand. I thought Jordan Hicks played well in this game. Martin Emerson was getting picked on in this one. Myles Garrett didn't have much of an impact. He had 1 quarterback hit. I shouldn't say he didn't have an impact. His pressures early led to some good plays. And then he was looking at his shoulder at one point and his hamstring at one point, and he wasn't much of a factor in the second half. Browns had 4 sacks. Had no sacks. Had 4 tackles for a loss, 2 quarterback hits, but no sacks in this game. Broncos had 4, I believe, right? No, 3. That on UCSS today, guy who covers the Broncos was telling us about this Nick Bonito, who I had never heard of a week ago. And that guy's unbelievable. He has, 11 sacks, I think, second in the league. And he had the pick 6. It was a pretty sweet play by him. I mean, Jameis did not see him coming on that play at all. So the game's a mixed bag because you can't run. The defense has been terrible. A lot of breakdowns again. It's good to see Nick Chubb get in the end zone. It was on a passing play, but again, 9 carries for 21 yards. They went away from him for a while. They were even asking on the broadcast, was he hurt? There was no injury. They just, didn't use him. David Njoku had 2 touchdowns in this one. He had 17 targets, but he only caught 9. He had a couple of drops, but some of them were tough plays. 9 for 52 and 2 touchdowns. Michael Woods caught 3 for 43. Nick Chubb 2 for 24 in the passing game. And there was a Jamari Thrash sighting, 2 catches on 2 targets for 11 yards. A lot of big plays in this one. And the Browns lose in the end like they've done most of the season. Jameis now 2-3. Browns 3-9 overall. They'll play Pittsburgh again, this time on the road. Browns are 1-5 on the road, 2-4 at home on the season. Folks, I want to talk to you before we get. I'm going to go into the chat in just a moment, and I'm going to get to your comments. But before we do that, I just want to talk to you about BetRivers Squares. Players can place same-game parlays on college football and NFL games to earn squares. Make sure you go into the BetRivers app. Our exclusive Squares game offers additional chances at profit boosts, bonus bets, and many $10,000 jackpots. You heard me right, $10,000. Check out BetRivers.com or the BetRivers app to find out more information. All right, let's get to some comments. The chat's been busy. Christopher says, just enough to give you hope. And, of course, it's against Denver with the history there. And we now notched another losing season. John says, too many mistakes tonight. No moral victories. Happy you're doing a show, Bull, after a Browns loss. Yeah, it's a weird. The whole thing is weird. I'm usually I usually have a clear path of how I feel about the team after the game. There's some really promising things we've seen in the last 5 weeks. A passing game that's come to life. But, I often crushed Baker because he just turned the ball over too many times, and especially in big spots, and that's exactly what Jameis did tonight. The numbers are great, and he's clearly playing at a way higher level than Deshaun Watson was, but he also made a critical mistake at a critical time. So I don't know how to feel, especially because a lot of the rest of the team, besides the passing offense, did not play well. Scott says, Winston played so well, gave us hope, and then at the end he blew it, which makes him now officially a Cleveland Brown. Yeah. Mike says it's a bummer, but hey, go Browns. Good game. Chris, but Browns need to find a way to make teams at least be concerned about a run. Right now they're not. Stormin Norman says Chubb is done. I don't believe that. I know. Listen, he's not the same player right now. And maybe he is done. Maybe he'll never be the same player again. Give it one more year. Now, I don't even know if he's going to, the Browns have it. He's a free agent at the end of the year. I don't know what's going to happen. And he could very well be, Dalvin Cook was great, and then he was just done. And we've seen that. Sean Alexander, Todd Gurley. The list goes on in recent years. Ezekiel Elliott was more of like a slow decline. And Nick Chubb may be done, but he's still young enough. Most guys, it takes them the second year coming off that kind of serious injury. I'm going to wait till next year. I still think Nick Chubb's got another year or two of good play left. And maybe I'm being biased because he's my favorite player, but I think he's still got it left. I just, it's not there right now. He's not the same player right now. Okay. Z says Jameis is so much fun. That he is. Kia says draft Ashton Genty and build an O-line in the later rounds. Running back, O-line, edge, linebacker, defensive back. Drafting concerns from most important to least. SW Lyons says Jameis is a solid backup. Now, he'll be starting for somebody next year. I think there's a decent chance of that. He'll at least be competing. If it's not the Browns, which I think there's a decent chance it will be, it'll be for somebody else that doesn't get the quarterback they want in the draft. Smallville, man, on the last interception, Winston should have run the ball instead of throwing the ball. Last interception, now by that point, they were going to need to get that touchdown and get the onside kick and then score again. It was going to be tricky, highly, highly unlikely, but I guess it wasn't completely over. Cousender 3W, we found our wide receiver 1 next year. Listen, Jerry Jeudy's playing great. I don't want to take anything away from him. He's had excellent stretches before. This is probably his best 5-game stretch. He's not a legit number 1 receiver, like with the superstars in the league. If he becomes the number 1 wide receiver, he's an Amari Cooper number 1 wide receiver, a mid-tier to lower-tier wide receiver 1. 5 weeks doesn't anoint you. You got to do it for longer than that. I love what I've seen. I'm not ruling out him becoming at least a lower-tier number 1, but I don't think he's proven himself a number 1. Number 1s, true elite number 1s, are a different breed. They're not Jerry Jeudy. You know what they look like, and they're not him, as well as he's played lately. He's played great. Sam says, Bull, Jeudy and Denver defense special teams just completed the most epic fantasy comeback for me in the history of fantasy football, so there's a silver lining. I lost one fantasy matchup on that Nick Chubb touchdown. If Nick Chubb didn't get that touchdown, I would have won in one of my matchups, but that's all right. Let's see. K Love says, congratulations on securing your losing season. Yeah, K Love is Kevin Love hates the Browns for some reason. I don't know why. Cousender says, how the hell did they go into the season thinking Watson was was the better option? What choice did they have coming into the season? They weren't going to start anybody else. Come on. At this point, it's changed, but they weren't going to start somebody else. Kia says, losing season, who cares? Let's draft Genty. We got to be nasty next year. Smallville, the first pick, the wide receiver could have helped on the play. One step back to the ball. That's not an interception. Nah, I don't think that's fair. Cody, that and also it's nice to see some of the leadership coming out of the quarterback position. That's true. Eric Foote can't throw it 50-plus times, not have a running game. It's a shame. That was a great game. Brad says, Jameis is who he's always been. He can win games, won't win consistently, draft a quarterback and restart, and don't let Barry do the drafting. I agree with that. I would like to bring back Jameis on a one-year deal. I don't know if that's going to be possible. That's what I'd like to do. I don't know. The problem is I don't know if there's going to be a quarterback worth drafting. It depends where they finish. Doesn't sound like any of these quarterbacks are great, but I don't know how the Browns feel. So we shall see. Let's see. Jay Balls. Well, let's see. Christopher says run the ball. Jay Balls says we literally can't run the ball. Jay Bales, you 100% bring back Winston. Fajig, why didn't Myles Garrett play today? Silverlicious, good game, Bull. Have a good night, dogs. KJ Kelly, bring back Sipe. John A. Bengals have a terrible defense. That's true. Jay Bales, Miles needs someone on the other side of him. That's true. Eternal Elements signed Jameis to a 2-year deal. Another, then draft a quarterback. Fig says defense is pure garbage. Another rookie cooked them. Child of the 70s. I still think Jimmy Haslam's going to bring back Watson in an attempt to save face. How can he save face? You can't bring back. I mean, anything's possible. I'm not going to completely rule that out because Jimmy's an idiot. But that would just be the dumbest thing ever. Let's see. John says our secondary is trash, but at least their dance moves are on point. I can't take it. I mean, first of all, this is not just the Browns. All teams doing this. We make a play on defense, a turnover, and we run to the end zone to celebrate some choreographed celebration. I think it's so pitiful. I would never want to be part of that, but what do I know? Let's see. Diesel. Never seen an organization waste people's careers like the Browns do. William, at least it was fun. It was a top thrill movie that I didn't pay $15 for. John, as long as we don't call this a moral victory. There are no moral victories. I'm with you there. Chris, Browns need a fresh O-line. Diesel, shut down Miles, Nick, and have them ready for next year. Tank the season, draft Abdul Carter and Milroe. Nick doesn't have a contract for next year, so they won't be shutting him down. Let's see. Chris says, yeah, Bull, I think the last few Browns games have been really hard to figure out. Jokic, offensive goat. Winston is solid. Bring back Flacco and Baker. Scott, I'm sick of people saying Chubb has lost it. He only gets runs up the middle. Wendell, sell the team. Northeast Ohio is jinxed as far as football is concerned. It might have affected Cincinnati and definitely the Buckeyes. I don't believe in jinxes. Jeremy says, even if you draft Genty, you need an O-line. Fajig, nothing matters until 2027. Litbag, the run game is to inch you closer to the touchdown and confuse the defense. We unfortunately can't scheme that. Eli the Don, Lord, we need a franchise quarterback. Brendan McCafferty. Are we going to have the most expensive backup next year? Can the Browns cut him? They probably, if I were the Browns, based on the situation, I would not cut Jameis I'm not cut Deshaun because it's going to be too big a cap hit. I would not have him on the roster. I would not have him on the team. I'd have to waste the roster spot and make him inactive every week. It's unfortunate. I think that's what they do, and then cut him after next year. I'd never let him play again. No chance. Rick says you have to be in the business of winning games. The Browns are not. John, last interception, Dorsey calls a quarterback rollout to the short side of the field. Diesel, draft Genty and sit him behind Ford. Ha ha. Fajig, Winston took a head-to-head hit. If it were Trevor, people would be ejected. Oh, stop it. The Browns just got away with a penalty the play before. There's plenty of quarterbacks to get hit in the head, and quarterbacks miss it. Like the league is trying to cheat for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, at least say it's the Steelers or a New York team or something if you're going to start with that nonsense. Let's see. Jim in Florida, Steelers up to a 7-point favorite. Let's see. Do we have them? The Steelers? Do we have the latest spreads there? Is it 7 points? Yeah, it's not up yet since the Browns game just ended. We'll see. JJ Diddle. Mike Woods is legit. He's just a guy, in my opinion. I mean, even if he's just a guy, it's not bad. CMB 100 says he's going to beat the Steelers next week. 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. There you go. Why does somebody keep sending a message about the Steelers and Chiefs playing on Christmas Day? Who cares? We threw the ball at the 1-yard line. Come on, Dorsey, run it. Wasn't like the run was doing much. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. Thanks. I'll have a podcast on Wednesday. Dustin will rejoin me live on Thursday at 2 p.m. And then Sunday again after the Browns play the Steelers. I'll be back on with you Sunday afternoon. Thanks to everybody who joined me this late night, early morning. Once again, you see the final there. The Browns lose to the Broncos 41-32 to drop to 3-9. They will have a losing season. It will not be back-to-back winning seasons for the first time in forever. Browns are in last in the division. They can still finish third, but that's about it. Browns go to Pittsburgh next week on Sunday, their first day game in a while. See the standings there, not pretty. Man, it's hard to believe that the Browns beaten the Steelers and Ravens and have lost to all these other teams. But kudos to the Broncos, 8-5. I didn't see that coming. I didn't think they'd be a playoff team. I was right about the Jets being bad this year. I was right about the Browns not making the playoffs, although I certainly didn't think they'd be this bad. I was right about Washington, but I was wrong about Denver. I did not see that coming at all. At all. All right, thanks to Z and Max, and thanks to all of you for participating. I'll talk to you next time. Everybody have a good night. Be safe. Where else but right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by Bet Rivers. See you, everybody.